תקדישנו במצוותיו וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה.
Hi, Marina. Shabbat Shalom. Let's see. I think we're in good shape. Oh my. Fine. Okay. Okay, so Maya's online too with her phone. Okay, a little bit of calendar stuff. In case you don't know, July 4th is on Thursday, July 4th, or whatever. So this Thursday is Independence Day. July 10th, I'm trying to figure out if we have anything to talk about, but current events on July 10th. Maybe there'll be a few things to talk about. I should imagine there might be. And then July 11th is the sentencing. July 15th is the Republican National Convention. It is getting to be not a quiet summer. Okay, great. A little quick checking in, though we did some. Anyone else want to share something about what is happening in their lives that is happy and new and good, or not?
May I have a new apartment and a swimming pool on the roof, no anti-Semitic schmucks around me, and it's so safe, and I'm going to have a party, and Cindy's coming, and you're welcome. Well, I'll let you know. It's in the financial district of Los Angeles, lots of security. You have to have a secure key to get in the elevator.
Okay, thank you for that, Mazel Tov.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you.
Okay, we are ready. Anyone else here? I missed.
Yeah, me.
Who, me? I don't know. Who's me?
Merle. I need to brag for a minute. The girls were just accepted into the World Tap Dancing competition in Prague. It's like some amazing competition like the Olympics for tap dancing.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. Mazel Tov.
In October. I just needed to brag for a minute.
No,
I'm done.
That's what this is all about. That's fabulous.
Can you bring a guest?
They're bringing their parents.
What about a chaperone? I'll be a chaperone.
Yeah.
I think their parents are old enough. We don't even get to go, but Jason will video everything and we'll get to see it.
Super.
Wow.
Thank you all. Okay. Now we are in Shlach Lecha, in the book of Numbers. And I love the book of Numbers, not only to contrast it with the first half of the book of Leviticus, which I do not necessarily love, but the book of Numbers is filled with fascinating, separate narratives, and there's good stuff in this week's portion. We're going to look at Numbers 13:1-3. Numbers 13:1-3 in my book 979. 979. And this sets out the story. It's a well-known story. You know that, right? The story of the 12 who are sent to, whatever it is, investigate the land. The Eternal One spoke to Moses, saying, "Send emissaries to scout the land of Canaan, which I'm giving to the Israelite people. Send one representative of their ancestral tribes, each one a chieftain." So Moses sent them out from the wilderness of Paran, all of them being notables, leaders of the Israelites, and these were their names. Okay, so we know the story. First of all, I love the English. God spoke to the Eternal One, spoke to Moses, saying, "Shlach lecha anashim," send out. It says emissaries. The Hebrew says anashim, people. Emissaries is already a Rashi on what the word means. And then it says to scout the land of Canaan. Stop for a second. When you hear that a group of people are going to scout out the land, what do you think the word scout means?
Why?
Spy? Someone say that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, spy.
Check out.
Check out.
Well,
Okay,
my book says they're sending out men to investigate.
investigate. Investigate is not the same as spy, is it?
To
No.
report on what they see.
But I don't think they were spying.
Now,
Spying implies
you're moving ahead, Steve.
infiltration.
Moving ahead. Now, the Hebrew says, Vayaturu et Eretz Canaan. Tourism is called tayarut in Hebrew. Latur means to tour, to check out the special.
Check it out. Yeah.
So right at the beginning, the commentators had real trouble trying to figure out whether what these people were doing was a good thing, a bad thing, and whether they were being conquerors or visitors to see the Eiffel Tower in Jerusalem, or whatever it was they were doing. But Vayaturu, and I don't know. I mean, I can't handle Vayaturu as a scout, but so it reads that way. So he sent people to see the land of Canaan, which I am giving the children of Israel. Every one of the leaders will go. You should have a leader. Okay, so we're not exactly sure what's going on. Why does Moses have to send out people, leaders, to look at the land? They're going there anyway. This is God's promise. They have no issue with that. This is not a choice. Okay, I see Herman.
I was going to mention what you just said also, Rabbi, but there's something that confuses me. God is giving the land to the people. He's already said that. Therefore, I don't see any reason for scouts or spies or whatever you want to call them. But according to the commentary in my book, God didn't approve of sending people out in the first place. It was Moses who picked them. God couldn't care less.
This was like a compromise on God's part. This was not God's decision. But yet it says, God said to Moses, send emissaries. This is what I want. And then the other way we realize God didn't really want the emissaries. And this was a concession to the people. It's confusing. And I don't know, Tamara, do you have any deeper knowledge as to how people understood send them out? Does God want them to go? Yes, but no. And why?
Well, I'm trying to find out how often yaturu, or that verb, is used, and see if that helps know what they're trying to say. So
Okay.
I'll let you know.
So Tamara's doing a document search for Yavayaturu.
Right.
Fine. It starts off as being a very simple story. Then all of a sudden it's a little bit more complicated. But okay.
Yeah, all the other examples are really more neutral. They're to investigate, to explore, like explore your own heart. It's used for that. It's to seek information, but it doesn't have, it's not spy. It doesn't have spying or negative connotation.
Yet, how many times do we read, well, this is the story of the 12 spies who went into the country, right? Spies. And yet, the Hebrew certainly doesn't conclude that way.
And it's actually used in the sense of tourists in one place. actually, which is cute.
Yes, yes. Okay, so we have to stop right here. Here is a key question with a major prize. All right. What is the emblem of the Israeli Tourist Agency?
Oh, wow.
Oh, wait. I see you, Cindy was up first. Cindy?
It's two of the spies returning with huge clusters of grapes that are so big they have to carry them on poles.
Right. If you see the picture of two Israelites dressed in ancient garb with a major stick between them and a huge cluster of grapes hanging down, that's a symbol of the current Israeli tourism department. And it's taken, of course, from this Sedra when whoever they were, the visitors came back with a huge cluster of grapes. So those cluster of grapes, that cluster connects back to the biblical story. Okay, and now what is the political connection to the cluster of grapes?
May I, Rabbi?
That's an obscure question.
I have an answer.
Who's
Commerce. As donut. I think it's commerce and developing the land and economic development.
Okay, not here. What it is one of the prime ministers of Israel was named Levi Eshkol. And Eshkol in Hebrew is a cluster of grapes. So we have all these really unimportant facts staring us in the face. So they went in and they did that. Then I want to move to chapter 13, 16 to 20. Look at verse 16. These were the names of the emissaries. Okay, back again. Of the emissaries whom Moses sent to scout the land. But Moses changed the name of Hosea to Joshua. To me, that's a very important throwaway sentence. What strikes you in that? Moses changed Hosea's name to Joshua. Any thoughts? Tamara?
I never noticed this. Hosea means it's a request, do save. And Yehoshua, he will save. So it moves from a plea that he will save to an affirmation that he will save.
And it was hiding there all the time, right? So,
yeah, I never noticed that.
Okay. So that's fun. But also, folks, who names a baby?
The parents.
Who named Joshua?
Moses.
That's all. We can think about what that might possibly mean. The role of Moses and the relationship of Moses to Joshua. All of it, by the way, it doesn't say having consulted with Hosea and having Hosea agree that his name should be Joshua, Moses declared his name Joshua. No. Moses said, you, Hosea, your name is Joshua. Okay? So Moses takes on not just the other roles that he had, but in a real sense, paterfamilias. He's the father of Joshua. And Joshua, in every sense, I don't mean this Joshua, the other Joshua. In every sense, Joshua is the descendant, the son, the follower, the disciple of Moses. So I just found that to be interesting. Then, this is what the instruction. Moses sent them to tour the land, go there to the Negev, the hill country, see what kind of a country it is. Are the people dwelling in it strong or weak, few or many? Is the country in which they dwell good or bad? Are the towns they live in open or fortified? Is the soil rich or poor, wooded or not? And take pains to bring back some of the grapes. I find this instruction strange. They're going to the promised land. They didn't go through a list. All right, I'm going to give you a list of 10 really great countries. We could go to Australia. We can go, maybe France, this, and Canaan. No, it doesn't say that. You are going to this land. Now, Moses instructs the emissaries what to look for. As a teacher, I see red flags all over the place. When you go in there, see if the country is rich in soil or not. What does that open up the question for? What does that make possible an answer?
Agriculture.
Agriculture.
But maybe it's not so good. See whether the land has filled with strong people or weak people. What does that open up the possibility? These questions are an open invitation to trouble, at least as I read it. Go see whether, we can beat these people. Are the cities fortified? See what kind of a country is. The moment you start moving from this is where you're going, you are going to the promised land, and okay, it doesn't have a lot of things that other rich countries will have. This is the place where you're going. But Moses says to the spies, well, check this out. What are the odds that all 12 are going to bring back positive responses to the questions Moses asks? I just think that it's okay. I'm being picky. I don't like the questions. It makes me a little bit nervous.
Rabbi?
Yeah, yes, please. Who's there?
Hello? It seems like there are the panel of the jury. It's the test to see if the jury will come back with the correct verdict or another verdict, depending on their prejudices. Each one had their own little prejudices that will cloud their vision. Each spy had a different brain, and they have to coordinate their brain power to do the job of colonizing the promised land.
And Eric, I really like your phrase, cloud the vision. From my hypercritical, I'm in a bad mood, hypercritical mood today, Moses's questions cloud their vision. Your phrase. I think they do. Because this isn't optional, right?
Yes.
Moses didn't say, all right, here we are. We're going to get ready to leave Mount Sinai. All of you who want to move to, the coast of southern France, raise your hand. All of you who would like to go here. All of you who want to go to Canaan, raise your hand. Okay, we're going to Canaan. That's not what happened. You're going to Canaan. Then why all the questions?
This is funny.
I see hands, please. I see Reese's hand. Ready to attack.
Everything is binary.
I can't hear you, Reese.
All the choices are binary, which means you can't come out in the middle. It's good or it's bad. It's okay. It's medium. No, you have to be good or bad. So if it's okay, medium, you've got to say good. And that's what he wants.
Thank you. And binary is tough. That's tough. Okay. Yes, thank you. Any other comments that anyone want to make here?
Yes, Rabbi. I remember Joshua and Caleb are on the emblem.
Okay, I don't know who's talking.
Donna.
Would
Joshua and Caleb.
Donna, would you please
Yes,
to your call, Don? Okay?
Oh, okay. I have my hand up.
Please. Okay. I'm having a little bit of trouble because the group is larger than my screen. But okay, Donna, go ahead, please. Brief comment.
Thank you, Rabbi. No problem. Good to hear your voice. I was going to say the emblem on Joshua and Caleb with the grapes, when they went and they drank out of the river and they looked up, they saw good. They trusted Adonai. They believed in God's choice and they saw good.
Okay, Donna, hold it. You're doing a commentary, not addressing the issue, but thank you for that, Steve.
I think that part of this is to build faith and the allegiance to God, because he's giving them this land. He wants them to see that it's good land, and he also wants them to see that maintaining it will take effort, and the people, if they are loyal to him, to God, will be able to successfully receive the gift he's giving them.
You're being good to God in this way, Steve. I appreciate it, but okay. As I said, I maybe woke up on the wrong side of the bed, decided to be critical of the Sedra, but that's okay. Hey, I want to point to one last thing in this introduction. This is not where we're headed. This is just the introduction. Please look at verse 22. They went up into the Negev. They came to these places. See this line. Now, Hebron was founded 7 years before Zoam in Egypt. Do you see how it's set off with dashes? The editor is kind of trying to indicate this is an editorial insertion. It kind of interrupts the flow. Somebody, when they were writing it out, wanted to write in, by the way, if you may be confused here, because tell me about Hebron, and now it's saying it's this old, it's always been there. Here's the key question. Why is the mention of Hebron very important here? Why?
All the patriarchs
What
are
is
buried
there?
there.
Wait 1 second, please. Why? What is there about Hebron that makes it extraordinary?
It's the
Different.
burial place of all of the patriarchs.
Okay, so we have that Hebron is a connection back to the era of Abraham and Sarah. Okay? So by mentioning Hebron, it connects with the patriarchal story, even though in this case, it's probably an insertion by the editor. That's all. Hebron is this. There are a number of places in the Torah where it will say this, which was previously this, or is now known as this. The editor tries to make the text a little bit more legible. Okay, now all that is background fun. I want to point something out about the text. Right before we get the story of the spies, we have the story of Miriam getting punished for gossiping. Tell me how this is working. In the text, Miriam gets punished. So here we have Miriam is gossiping, by the way, with Aaron too. She's gossiping, gets punished. Aaron gets away with it. Then Moses keeps going on, giving all the rules, the regulations, how to be pure, perfect, good, and everything. And the spies are sent out. Look at chapter 15, verse 14. 15:14. This is all, if you look at it, really interesting. 15:14. Page, let's see. Got that right? 15:14. Oh, excuse me, 15:32. That was why I was confused. 15:32, which is on my page 989. Once when the Israelites were in the wilderness, one of their fellows was on gathering wood. They found him. He was gathering wood on Shabbos. He was placed in custody. God was asked what to do. God says, kill him. And they pelted him with stones and killed him. So in case any of you are wondering whether there's any penalty for violating Shabbat, the Torah makes very clear you will be stoned to death. Now, I mentioned Miriam, and I mentioned the stoning of the guy gathering wood, because you have in the community a very unsettled time. Moses is busy talking to God, hanging out with God in the tabernacle. Okay, God, what's up? Okay, God says, we have more laws, you're going to get the details. Moses goes in and gets the details. In the meanwhile, Miriam and Aaron are involved in gossip. Meanwhile, this guy is going out and gathering wood on Shabbat. What we have is a clear picture that Moses can be giving the rules of God, but the people are not following along in lockstep. Do you see that? They're not following along. The people are unsettled. Now put the incident of the spies into context. The people are unsettled, and then the spies, tourists, whatever, bring back a report that the land is too difficult for us to conquer. Do you see what's going on? It's going to immediately touch off all the uncertainties that are rife in the camp while Moses is getting all the rules. Sometimes we idealize what the desert experience was like. The Israelites never followed everything. It wasn't just something that happens in the 21st century. People were always pulling in one direction or another. And then the incident of the spies pushes the issue over the corner. Tamara, something's going on? I see a no. Oh, okay. I'm being very attentive. The people are getting the rules, but are they going to be observing the rules? All the commandments are given. And the people are living their daily lives like you and me. So Moses keeps going in and talking to God. God gives all these wonderful rules. And the people go about living their daily lives. What do the people need to help keep them on track? It's all in this Sedra, but it's not connected this way. Maybe it's because I'm perverse. Maybe. What do the people need to keep them on track? I'm sorry? Okay.
Rabbi,
Is there a hand? I'm sorry, I hear some.
It's Brad.
Okay, Brad, please.
It seems to me the unifying factor here is a question of where is truth? Truth is not in gossip. Truth is not in perception, in our senses. Truth is in faith, and following that, following the mitzvot. That's where truth is, and that's the story of the gathering of the wood. That's the arc of these stories.
I agree.
Where is truth?
Okay, so my question still remains, but you sharpened it. How do you keep people on track to follow the truth, to follow the rules, to follow what God is saying? It's in this Sedra. How do you do it? Okay, is it Mara or I don't know which?
So I have two things. First, to directly answer your question, I think it would be to give people good news. That would keep them on track.
Does that mean our country is really a bad situation? There's no good news, Mara.
But
Okay.
I have a question, and tell me if it's off track of what you're getting at. I've been looking at the Viat Toru.
I'm sorry.
I've been looking at the word Viaturu.
Oh, Viaturu?
Viaturu.
Yeah, okay.
And is it related to the word yater?
No.
Because what I was then going to say is that the news that comes back is because those who were sent out were the remnant, were the lesser of the people, and that's why they came back with the news they did. But you're telling me that it's not related, so
it's not related to Yoter. It's not. It's got a lot of the similar letters, but it's not. Okay, Larry says carrots and sticks. Actually, a number of you, Cindy, others, have come up with a similar thing. Consequences. Consequences. How do you keep people on? Susie.
Hello, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Could it possibly be that the rules are too strict, too rigid, and there needs to be more understanding of the people, and that the rules just, it's common nature for us to stand up to rules if they don't seem fair. I didn't read the whole Cedra at all, but I'm just reacting as a human being to rules that I don't understand or rules that are too rigid.
And that's such a great point. That's part of the system. The system, 613 commandments, and you know that the rabbis added hundreds of thousands of other commandments, hundreds of thousands, okay? And there are some people, maybe with justification, too much. But let's go forward. Larry.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like this is a commentary on human nature in that at the beginning of the Sedra, God tells Moses to pick leaders from each tribe to go and check out what God has already promised to be a promised land of wealth and comfort. And almost immediately, almost everybody, including Moses, starts questioning whether that could possibly be true. And it's just sort of a feature of human nature that, we can't take the good without the bad?
I thought you were describing me.
Yeah.
Look at every happy situation and find a reason to worry.
Sure.
But I hear you. Okay. I want to go forward with this because there is a really crucial answer embedded in our Sedra. Okay? And that is, I want to get the right verse here. 1537, chapter 15, verse 37. 37? Oh, yes, there we are. This is right at the end of the Sedra, 990. Can I have somebody read that little section, the end, from 37 to 41? Do I have a volunteer to read? Okay, I see, Doris.
Okay. The Lord said to Moses as follows: Speak to the Israelite people and instruct them to make for themselves fringes on the corners of their garments throughout the ages. Let them attach a cord of blue on the fringe at each corner. That shall be your fringe. Look at it and recall all the commandments of the Lord and observe them, so that you do not follow your heart and eye in your lustful urge. Thus you shall be reminded to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. The Lord am your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I, the Lord, your God.
Thank you. If you could take the questions I've been raising, and I know they're not flowing smoothly because the story isn't that way. They're just incidents. But the incidents are of people disobeying, forgetting, neglecting, whatever, the rules. And losing faith, therefore. And punishment? Yeah, punishment is good. A number of you mentioned punishment is a good way to get people to agree. But that has, I think we all understand, a pretty big downside. Punishment. What is the Torah offering to resolve Stanley's problem? How do you get people to care about what it is, all these rules and regulations and everything? How do you get them to care?
May I answer, Rabbi?
Okay, but to answer my question.
Yes, sir. I think it's compassion and community.
Fine. Thank you. How do you get them to care? Natalie. Natalie, yes? Not hearing you.
You get them to behave with fear. Fear is behind God's statement of punishing you. You don't listen, you get punished. You don't listen to me, I blow you up. Fear is a big conductor of good behavior. It goes way back to even little children listen finally to their parents because they're afraid they will be angry with them, not love them. Fear in school, you're afraid of the teachers. They're going to give you a bad mark. Fear is the basis of good behavior, certainly in this case, where people don't trust at all. And why should they have trusted? Here they have this God they can't see, they can't feel, they are just told about these things. You could see how they were very confused at this point. At least I can.
That's terrific, Natalie. Thank you. Thank you for that. Cindy.
Well, fear is obviously the perfect first answer, but also rewards. If you behave, or if you follow my commandments, you'll get these good things. That's why stars work for young children.
I like Cindy's answer.
Oh, yeah, it's nice to be pretty and calm.
No, both are important.
That's not the real world, though.
I'd like getting stars. I remember it recently in the hospital when I did something like normal, and the nurse came in and said, "Oh, so good," and she wanted to pat me on the head, and I wanted to slug her. You know, but rewards, there's more. Risa.
Gets.
By the way, Risa, I would recommend rewards. You might try applying rewards in our relationship. But go ahead.
What's happening is he's getting the people involved in the decision. Don't take my word for it that it's good. Go take a look yourselves, and you'll see that it's good.
You said something which is going to be important here. Getting people involved, shaping a community. You're getting there. That's good. Okay. What do we have?
I agree with Risa.
Okay, Harv.
Okay. We're dealing with adults here. I would think reminders, putting a reminder in front of people. Is it the fringes on their talits, or is it a mezuzah on your house? Those are reminders to do good things. That's my answer.
You hit it directly on target. Directly on target. Reminders. There's a Hebrew phrase coming from the Torah, Laman tizkaruva asitim et kol mitzvotai, so that you may be reminded and then do all my commandments. Reminders, but this is bigger, and it totally connects, and that's why I moved, and that's why I think it's here. The fringes, and we're going to have a little bit of time to talk about it, but it's a big deal. What the Torah is dealing with is a bunch of real people who may not believe everything about this invisible God or the community, what, back, forth, up or down. But there are ways to unite a community, and when the community is united, observance is easier. Everyone is doing it. Okay, I have a couple more hands. I see Brad.
Yeah, I'm just sort of expanding on what Harv said, that you convince them by telling them stories. And these stories are at a personal level, and they're didactic. Whether it's the story of Miriam, it's the story of the spies, it's the story of the woodcutter, they're all stories, and they resonate with us because they're about people, and we can identify with these people, and they serve a didactic purpose.
I'm not being surprised, but this group is doing incredibly well. Yes, Brad. And the stories carry more of a moral power than "Thus saith the Lord." Tell me a story about when somebody went out and picked up wood on Shabbos and ended up stoned to death. I can remember that. Okay? And I may not like it, but I'll do know that you folks want Shabbos to be serious. Okay? And yes, stories, really important. What happened to Miriam? Very important. Judaism, Jewish law, tradition despises gossip. Saying that is one thing. Telling the story that Miriam got leprosy for a brief period because she gossiped. Of course, Aaron didn't because he's the male. Enforces the notion. Yes. So we have community. We have shared participation. We have stories that people can hold on to. The question was, how do you get people to pay attention to all that we're talking about? And let's go into this a little bit. Where do you remember seat from? Seat. Where do you remember tzitzit? English translation, fringes. Okay, where do you remember it from? Where do we hear about fringes? In our prayer book, in the Torah, where do we hear? Come on, I got to have an answer to this.
About
Otherwise,
fringes?
pardon?
You said about fringes?
Where do we encounter the fringes business?
That's in the Talit.
On the Talit, and every time we read the second paragraph after the Shema. Okay? They shall be fringes upon the corners of your garments. It's there. Fringes. What's the big? I remember this is a terribly sad story.
Hello, I see the fringes. I sometimes go to B&H Photo, and I see some of the sales clerks have the garments with fringes. You know what B&H Photo is, and that's the Orthodox electronics store on 34th Street and 9th Avenue in New York, and they have fringes on their garments. When I went to buy something in the B&H Photo.
I am not going to say, because I know this particular store. Yes, they want you to buy and notice their fringes, but check their prices.
It's very expensive in B&H Photo, but I just wanted to tell you what I observed, and also in some of the kosher stores down in Delancey Street.
I would not necessarily say I will always trust someone who's wearing fringes. But
you got to be careful. There may be wolves in sheep clothing.
Yeah. Okay. Now we have fringes. We have fringes. There's supposed to be fringes on the corner of our garments. Each fringe, tzitzit. By the way, when you see a talit, you often see a talit with a fairly big fringe here, fairly big fringe here, and a lot of little fringes in between, right? Right? And don't count them. They don't exist. They're decoration. Okay? The only thing that counts are the four big, if you will, corner fringes. And in case you're mathematically inclined, each of the tzitzit has 8 threads. When they're doubled over, it's 4 and they fold it over, you get 8. And then in the making of the fringe at the top, you tie 5 knots. 8 and 5 are 13. Right?
Yes.
All the numbers, if you total it up, oh my God, come to 613. I know that that's not something that you expected, but there it is in the Torah. But why do we wear fringes on our garments? By the way, the earliest laws don't make clear whether this is for men and women or just men. Later, they thankfully clarified it, and women were cut out of the mix. But originally, it may have been all Israelites had fringed garments. Are you aware that in the Middle East then and now, tribes have their own tribal colors for their robes? The tribes also have various fringes, designs. We went through the Sinai desert and passed a tree in which a whole bunch of winter robes were hanging there. The tribe hung their robes on the tree and probably picked up their summer robes, and they left them there. They could be identified by color and fringe.
Is that what they mean when they say fringe benefits?
Yes. Then the wearing of tzitzit is a way of identifying our tribe. That's what's going on here. We have, so the talit, if you will, is really reminiscent of the robe worn by people living in the desert in the Middle East. And they had 4 corners, and they had specially tied fringes. When you see somebody wearing those fringes, you know they're members of your tribe. This is really important. It sounds weird to talk about the fringes.
Excuse me.
Weird. I want to point out as well that the rabbis very early on said that putting on the garment with the fringes, it should be beautiful. And when you look at, the B'nai Mitzvah kids and they get fancy talitot, your talit should be beautiful. The fringes should be beautifully tied because they are serving to remind us of what we're supposed to do as Jews. Goes back to my question. How do you get people to observe? And one of the ways is to keep in front of them reminders. When you go into the house and you kiss the mezuzah and you leave the house, now you want to go back and say, well, they're talking about gods who lived in the wood, maybe. But in terms of how Jews viewed it, when you come into your home, remember this is a Jewish home. When you leave your home, remember to take that Jewish value and live it out there. These are powerful symbols, which somehow we don't always take seriously. Somehow we don't. We have hands up, but time is short. And I'm going to ask really fast one-sentence things. Eric?
I saw, does the talis, the fringes remind you of all the tribes? Therefore, when the Jews put on the talis, that means he's being the guardian of all the tribes.
I think that's good, and that fits the reminder. Steve?
You said they're supposed to be beautiful, but if you see the tzitzit worn by all the Hasidim, it's kind of a bland undershirt.
There are two forms of talit. One is called a talit katan, or called arba kanfot, which means the 4 corners. And it's like a poncho, and it goes over, it's almost like as an undershirt. Okay? Steve, that developed when wearing a talit in public during the Middle Ages in certain communities was dangerous. And so to keep the process of wearing the fringes, they developed the poncho. And now they do both. Okay? So that, okay, but it's very interesting. Yes, they are arba kanfot.
My computer was dying.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just anxious to be with me. The wearing of the talit, from my perspective, is a very beautiful, serviceable, important thing to do. I love it when I come into services and I see it's usually Yom Tov morning or Shabbos morning, Jewish people, men and women, wearing the talit, wearing the reminders of Jewish observance, wearing the reminders. And it's also good, and it reminds us of everything. My great penetrating, glorious question, which I wanted to talk about today, and we're not going to do it till next year. Do you have seat in your lives? Do you have people or memories or stories that are reminders of who you are in your core essence? Do you have seat in your lives?
We have you.
And I see some people nodding ahead. And I think it's a really important question. What do we have that are seat? So let me close by saying this. The real seat are worn to remind us of our obligations when we can live our lives without them. But we're Jews. The tzitzit remind us of the commandments. And the tzitzit remind us that we're part of a single tribal people, and this is our tribal garment. This is who we are. And the tzitzit are daily, because people daily need, Miriam could have used it, not to gossip. I'm going to pause just for a quick second and then go to Kaddish. Does anyone have anything that they want to add to this? I just find the topic extremely suggestive.
I just want to say my eyes are watering because I love you guys so much. It's so good to hear your voice. That's all I'm going to say. Just hear your voice and your brilliance is so beautiful.
I like the reference to both voice and brilliance. Thank you. Anyone else want to come in with something? When you come into shul and put on a talit, you are doing more than just an automatic reflex. You are doing something really significant. With this, we end. I have a small problem, and Hannah, I have to apologize. I never got the Yortzeit list for today. And we sent back and forth, never got it. So with apologies to people who've joined us, if you are remembering someone now, please speak their names out loud or speak them in your hearts. Please. If you are remembering someone and want to join in Kaddish, we mention in our hearts the names of those who died in defense of the state of Israel, those who died in defense of the United States, those who died through senseless acts of violence and terror, those who have no one to say Kaddish for them, for all of you who are here to say Kaddish. The upper right. No, move over. Right.
Eileen, fine.
Right.
This is right.
Okay.
You want this?
No, right. Right.
You want
right. Okay.
well, 3 over right.
This was terrific today. This was terrific. Thank you so much. Let us join in Kaddish.
Thank you.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shabbat B'alma Pirutei B'amliv Utei V'chayefon Yomei V'chayei Beit Yisrael Ba'agah Kariv Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba V'varach Elam Dameh Amaya
Yeah.
Yitbarach Yishtabach Yitba'ar Yitromah Yitnaseh Yitadar Halal Shmei Kudisham Le'ela Minkol Birchata V'shirata Tushbachata Da'amiran Bi'alma Bimru Amen.
Amen.
Slama Rabba Misham L'chaim Aleinu B'Alma Israel.
Amen.
Oseh Shalom B'Mal Huyaseh Shalom Aleinu B'Al Kol Israel.
Israel.
And may God
Amen.
peace in the high places, make peace in our hearts, make peace in our homes, make peace in the household of Israel, make peace among all the families and nations of earth, and let us say Amen. We say, I don't know if you're going to be joining us from wherever you're going to be. This may be the close of that period, but we loved having you with us. Thank you so very much. And
Have a wonderful week. Thank you so much. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Good
Shabbat
Shabbos.
shalom.
Shabbat
Be
shalom.
safe. God be with all of you.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Isaiah 54.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
See ya.